Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, the 17th of December, 2009. We're here as guests of the Carroll Lutheran Village to interview Mr. Dale Johnston. Good afternoon, Dale.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, how are you today?
I'm just fine, thank you.
Good,
and
good.
You?
I'm well, thank you. Want to start off with a little bit of biographical information. You mentioned that you were not actually born in Carroll County. Is
No,
that
I
so?
was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio, capital of Ohio, and the wife was about 40 miles down the road at a little town called Newark, Ohio. And I transferred here. I worked at Fort Hayes military installation there, and I transferred here to Fort Meade in 1967 and moved the family here.
Well, what was the date of your birth, please?
January 31st,
Okay.
1930.
1930. And your mom and dad's name?
Dad was Dale James, and mother was Gladys Beatrice.
And her maiden name was?
Vining.
Vining?
Yes.
Okay.
Vining.
And do you have any recollection of your grandparents?
Oh yes, grandmother Vining. We lived in her house when I was small, and grandfather Johnston was in not too many blocks away, and great-grandfather Felkner lived with Grandma Vining in the house where we lived when I was a kid.
Were these folks farmers?
No, this was in town. This was in the part of the early settlement for Columbus. It's now since been partially restored as it was making the foundation actually for the city that was to come. Gosh, I'm groping for the name now of that section of town. I can't get it, I'm sorry.
And what was their occupation?
Great-grandfather was a contractor. He was a builder. Grandmother, of course, the ladies didn't work, outside the house so much back then. Of course, after Grandmother Vining lost grandfather that I did not know before I was born, and he had been a soft drink distributor in Columbus, and of course Grandma did go to work after. As a matter of fact, she had to raise the family, whatever she could do back then, taking in washings, sewing, so but they had the house, and they kept that on Cypress Avenue there. My dad had worked as a machinist, but during the Depression, the factory left town, moved to St. Louis or somewhere. So he was out of work for a good bit of the early 30s. Later went to work for the big department store, Lazarus Department Store, which was one of the largest in, at least Central Ohio for many years. And Dad worked there. And
what did he do?
He laid linoleum for them and stock work, things like that. It was very low-paying job, and we didn't have a telephone until Uncle Fred came to live with us. He was an engineer on the Pennsylvania Railroad that came through town, and of course they were required to have a telephone to call up when they wanted them to come to work to run a train. And we lived there until about 1942, till we got into World War II.
You were still a little kid. You hadn't
Yes.
started school yet.
By that time, no, I was 12 years old. In 1942, I was 12 years old. And I attended elementary school there.
What was your favorite subject?
In elementary school? Gosh, I don't know. Music. Of course, the subjects weren't so identified as such. I remember reading, of course. We had reading, math, mathematics, and the normal stuff. I remember a music teacher that I had a real bad crush on. She was a really nice lady. Happened to be a preacher's daughter, and she taught music there at the
Were you singing or playing an instrument?
Oh, singing. No, I didn't have the talent. We had some musicians in the family, but I didn't have the talent for it.
Yeah.
So I just had to sing along.
How many kids were in your class?
Oh, gosh. I think the classes ran around 30, something like that, 25, 30. And there were, we separated, we advanced on the half year back then. In other words, they had 2 first grades, a 1A and a 1B. So you'd go into 1A was the very first, and then in January you'd move on to 1B and so forth. So
where did the first grade B kids go? Second grade A?
Yes, just to 2A. Yeah, so there would be then, and that went to the 6th grade, so there would be 12 actual classrooms and 12 different teachers in Avondale Elementary School was the name of it.
What was did you go to high school in
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I attended, we had junior high school after the 6th grade. We went to, junior high school was 7th, 8th, and 9th grades. I went to Starling Junior High School, but in my 9th grade, we moved to the farm. We moved to the country. And that's where I met my wife. She was on the adjoining farm. And we were there until after, on the farm until after World War II.
Did you like farm work?
Well, I'm not sure I ever liked any kind of work. But I worked in high school. I was in high school then, and I worked part-time after school and on weekends there's a big fruit farm there, and that took up a lot of acreage, and I worked for the fruit farm. We didn't do that much farming ourselves. We had a big garden. That,
whose farm was it?
The Lind Fruit Farm. Yes, that was the name of it.
So you moved out to live on the Lind Fruit Farm property?
No, we bought property there. We had a small acreage there. And as a matter of fact, it was right on a crossroad between Columbus and Newark, where my wife was from. And the name was Ash, Ohio, A-S-H. And it was a little unincorporated place there with only one house. And the reason it had a name and so forth was it had years ago been a post office there. So we had a little store, had a storeroom attached to the house, and we had a gas pump. We sold gasoline and small things in the store. And had a garden, like I said. We didn't. Some of the other farmers leased land or crops from us, but we didn't do that much farming on our own.
So you worked at the orchard?
Yes, I worked at the orchard.
What did you do?
Well, did whatever A.T. Lind wanted you to do, pretty much. Just utility work around the orchard, driving a tractor to pull sprayers that sprayed the trees, and I remember he built a new barn and helped paint the barn. And one of my first jobs, I know, as I recall, was A.T. had decided to try turnips that year, and he'd grown a big crop of turnips, but couldn't find much market for them. So I had, one of my jobs was to distribute these turnips around the trees in the orchard and dice them up into the ground around the trees.
And use them as fertilizer?
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know a turnip had that kind of fertilizer.
Well, they were no good for anything else. He couldn't sell them, so what, you might as well do what you can with them, I guess. But they turned into a pretty big operation. They had a huge store in between Columbus and the town where I went to high school there was Pataskala.
Mm-hmm.
That's an Indian name, and small town, had a school there. And the Linds later built a big a store, a distribution place in between there and Columbus. That they sold a lot of. They grew and sold a lot of fruit. They'd get extra pickers, when the fruit got ripe in the fall, and they'd come up from down south, sometimes out of state even.
Yeah. What kind
I
of
guess
wages
dropping.
were you making at the time?
I made 25 cents an hour. Now this is 1942. I made 25 cents an hour working in the orchard. Top hands made 40 cents. But I made 20, and it was enough to buy my girlfriend a soda once in a while.
I was going to say, what did you do with all these riches?
Yeah.
What did you do with the money? Do you recall what you did?
Well, I had learned by that time not to spend it quite as fast as I got it. See, back home I'd had a paper route. It was my first experience at making money, at being and I got the paper route from my sister's boyfriend, who had gone on to high school, and he was getting ready to go into the service at that time. And so he gave me the paper route. And the first time, you collect, at the end you deliver the papers all week, and then at the end of the week you go to the houses and collect the money. And I think you collected about, I think the daily paper was like 3 cents, and the Sunday paper was like 5, something like that. And then you got a small percentage of that to keep for yourself, and you turned the rest into the substation manager. And boy, my first collection, I'd never seen so much money. And boy, I just started, wow, buying soda pop that we didn't see much of, and I really had a taste for baked goods. And we had a bakery right on the corner, boy, and I was down there buying pies. Well, Monday came around, and I didn't have any money. And I thought, gosh, I had collected all this money, and I had like $4 or $5. But where was it? And I had spent it all, nickel and dime at a time and so forth. So I learned real quick that you have to, know what you're buying and keep track of your finances. So
what happened when they came to get the money?
Oh no, I had already paid my bill.
Okay.
Yeah, that was mine. I only spent my own.
Yeah, but
no, the first thing you did after you collected, that was the first thing you did. You went down and paid your bill. They called it then. You paid the money that was due the representative of the newspaper, Columbus Dispatch. At that time, it was called a substation, where you went and got your papers, and he would have been the substation manager. No, you paid him first.
Yeah.
And then what you had left was yours.
Yes, and that was a very good weekend, huh?
Oh, well, that was normal. Yeah, I made anywhere from $3 to $5, depending. Some people paid every 2 weeks, and of course that was a big week, big pay week, and some every week. But
how many homes were on your route?
Well, I basically had one street that just went for gosh, 4 or 5 blocks. I didn't have a big number of customers, and I'm trying to estimate how many it might have been. It was less than 100, I'm sure, or maybe about that many, maybe around 100.
What time would you have to get up in the morning to get it all done?
Well, this was an afternoon newspaper, and I stopped on the way home from school and picked up my papers in a big bag you slung over your shoulder, and then went down the street delivering the papers after school. On Sunday is the only time we had a early paper. So on Sunday we'd have to get out to pull my wagon down because them papers were big and heavy, the Sunday papers. And we'd get up around 4 o'clock or so on Sunday morning and get down and get your papers. And you had to shove your papers together. In other words, that's what they called it. You'd get a stack of the news, and then you'd get a stack of the other things like advertisements and comics and everything that you had to shove into the main newspaper, and they called that shoving, and you had to do that before you could take your papers out. Of course.
How about a rainy day? You had to put them. Did they put them in bags then?
No, no, we did not. It was up to me or anyone delivering to make sure that it got on the porch somewhere where it wouldn't get wet. And if it did get wet, you heard about it when you went to collect your bill at the end of the week. Yeah, and sometimes it snowed. You had to make sure, put them inside. You had to go up on it. Then you'd have to go up on the porch and put it inside the screen door or something. Yeah. Whereas on a nice day, well, you could just lay it up on the porch or see somebody in the yard.
Did you get to the point where you could throw it and it would land where you needed it?
Oh yeah, we see you roll your paper. Just had a special way of rolling it and folding it so it would stay together, and it made a little baton-like thing, you know, sort of. And, you throw that right up onto the porch.
How long did it take you to get accurate?
Oh, well, you were very close. You see, the neighborhoods back then, the houses were right out, just a very small, short front yard between there and the street. And of course, it was an old neighborhood, and you walk down the street and just toss it right up onto anybody's porch. No problem at all.
Nice. How long did you pursue this career?
Well, see, I was a paper boy, well, until we moved to the country. Yeah, that's the way it was, yeah. So
you needed to replace the income, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, and I went to work. Of course, we were getting into World War II. People were getting harder to find, workers. And I'll never forget A.T. Lynn himself, the owner of the orchard, came over to visit us very shortly after we moved in, and he wanted to make sure that he got me signed up to work for him.
Wow.
Yeah, that's workers were really scarce. And I had a little bit of a conflict there because my girlfriend was the daughter of another orchard owner not far away. And I had already signed up to work for AT, and then, of course, she wanted me to go to work for her dad. And matter of fact, her mother came down and talked to us about it. So I kind of got in the middle on that one.
Did he make you a better offer? Did he make no?
Not really. I couldn't. I didn't feel like I could, change. I had already given my word to work for Mr. Lind. So.
Was your girlfriend unhappy with you?
No, she was very. Not didn't take it out on me. Anyway.
Now, who is this? What's this remarkable lady's name?
My girlfriend? Sarah Folk.
F-O?
F-O-L-K. Sarah Folk, yeah.
And she was older than you, younger than you?
No, we were in the same class.
Okay.
We were in high school. That would have been the junior class in Pataskala High School. Yeah. And
how did you know she was your special lady?
How did I know? Well, how do you ever know? We just got to talking and so forth in school, and you know, got to liking each other, and that's what it was.
When you took her out on a date, where would you guys go?
Well, the little town of Pataskala had a movie house, and also had a little little small cafe, or I don't want to say cafe because they didn't sell alcoholic beverages, but a place where kids hung out.
Soda shop kind of
Yes,
thing?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And we could go there, and they had jukebox, you know, there, and also sometimes I just visited her at her home.
So when you took her to the movie, what did it cost?
Maybe 20, 25 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the movies, see, back home in Columbus, we had two movies. We called them, they were called neighborhood movies.
Mm-hmm.
And they were right on the, the one was only about 3 or 4 blocks from where we lived, very easy to get to. And then there was another one a little farther up the street, about 6 blocks away.
Mm-hmm.
And those for minors, I think up to 12 years, was only 10 cents.
Ah.
And yeah, that was, yeah. That's where you went for entertainment.
Then would you go for get a soda or something?
Oh yes, that if you had the money,
Mm-hmm.
and many times you didn't. Yeah, there was a confectionery. Dusenberry's confectionery was right on the corner, and you could go in there and get a soda.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how did you know? How did you pop the question?
The question to Betty, my wife.
Uh-huh.
Well, see, she was about 2 years my junior.
Mm-hmm.
And we never did go to school together because I left Pataskala High before she got in.
Mm-hmm.
She went to a smaller school closer to home in a little town, little crossroad called Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And but of course I knew her very well, and her brother. Her brother and I run around together a good bit out on the farm, and. So after I got out of the Navy in 1952, they were living back in Newark proper. They had left the farm like we had and gone into Newark. So I went to Newark looking for Bill, her brother, and Bill was gone. Bill was in the service, still in. He hadn't gotten home yet, but there was Betty.
Mm-hmm.
So we started dating.
Were you surprised how she had changed over the years?
Well, not so much. See, she would have been about 12 years old, I guess. Yeah, I guess there would have been a good bit. But I don't know, I'd known her before, and of course when I got there after in 1952, she would have been only about. Well, I just didn't notice that much difference,
Mm-hmm.
really. But we started dating right away, and wasn't too long till we got married.
So the date then was also you'd take her to a movie, and
Oh
is
yeah,
that what you guys did?
Yeah. There, I'd drive to Newark. Of course, I was living in Columbus, and I'd drive to Newark, and we'd go to a movie. Or they had parks. There was a park right just a couple of blocks from her house, a big, and we'd go to the park. And
Yeah, what kind of car were you driving?
well, at that time I had a 1950 Plymouth business coupe. It's a one-seater. If you remember business coupes, they only had one seat, and they didn't have any back seat. And after that, well, and I had a bad accident on the way home one night. sometimes I'd stay sort of late, and then it would be, I'd get drowsy going home, and I ended up in a pretty bad accident.
You hit a tree?
No, it did not. The automobile left the road and rolled.
Ooh.
And, but luckily, I was thrown clear of the automobile before it mashed itself down. So I was a little bit fortunate in that respect. Waking up in the hospital a day or so later, I started breaking out with poison ivy. I'd been thrown into a poison ivy patch.
Gee.
Yeah, that was misery. That was real misery. But we got married shortly after that. So
Yeah, what was your wedding day? What was the date?
okay, it's the day after Memorial Day.
Okay.
I think Memorial Day is the 30th,
Mm-hmm.
and we were married on the 31st.
Okay.
She'll be proud of me
She will.
for saying.
She will. No other reason to listen to the tape. You did it. Were you working at that time? What were you doing?
Yes, I was working for the at that time for the Burroughs Adding Machine Company in Ohio, and but shortly afterwards I went to work for North American Aviation that was building Sabre jets for the Korean War. I went to work there.
What was your skill? Were you a mechanic?
No, I had been a radarman in the Navy, and I was put in the electronic section in North American Aviation, and ended up being a final inspector. I ended up in the inspection section for the finished airplane. I inspected it electrically before it was delivered to the Army.
And that meant meters, and how did you make sure the circuits worked? You had to make sure the circuits worked? Is that was?
Well, yes, but the airplane at that point was completely finished.
Yeah.
So you didn't disconnect anything. We made operational checks. We had an electrical inspector, and they would put the airplane up on jacks, free of it would have been done in a hangar with a cement floor. And then we had a mechanical inspector also. Now, the electrical inspector would stay up in the cockpit, and he would operate all the controls. He would do a preliminary inspection of the mounted equipment, electronic equipment in the airplane. And then he would sit in the cockpit and operate things in the cockpit, and then operate the controls for the mechanical inspector, who would want you to retract the gear for him and put it back down, and then he would get in the wheel wells and so forth and check all that out.
Yeah. It's very exacting work.
Yes, pretty much.
How long did you do that?
About 5 years, until the contract shut down. And then I went to engineering flight test and got a job. They also had an engineering section there, and got a job as an instrumentation technician, where they would put instrumentation in various airplanes. I worked. I was assigned to a T-28, which is a propeller-driven trainer type airplane, and would install strain gauges and also take care of any electrical work on the airplane. And then the engineers would then they would fly the airplane and come back down. The engineers would come down and take readings from the.
Did you work with good people? Did you like the job?
Yeah, pretty much.
Good.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what brought you to Carroll County?
Well, I transferred, like I said initially. I was working at Fort Hayes in a signal field maintenance shop. Now, that's the shop that repairs electrical and electronic equipment. Well, electronic equipment, basically, for military. And I had worked there for about 5 years, and I transferred to Fort Meade to the logistics section in the headquarters, Fort Meade, of First Army, rather, not headquarters Fort Meade, but headquarters of First Army, which covers a 15-state area from Maine to Kentucky. And I was assigned to a traveling inspection team that traveled the area from Maryland to Kentucky. We only covered half the First Army area, and brought the family here, and built the house. Had the house built in the Sykesville area, in a place called a development called Emerald Valley. You may not have heard of it, but it's right just west of Eldersburg, off of Route 27, and the oldest daughter was in the first freshman class for the new South Carroll High School that was just finished then, and the other two younger ones went to Sykesville Middle School.
Yeah. So you and your wife had 3 kids?
Yes.
Okay. All
3.
girls?
No, 2 girls and a boy. Boys in the middle, and they're still here. When I transferred to Virginia, to Fort Belvoir later on, they were all out of high school except the youngest, and she went with us just for 1 year. Well, Mark, the boy, went with us too initially, and he went into the community college at Richmond, Virginia. But Marta was married. The older daughter was married shortly out of high school, so she stayed in Carroll County with her husband, and they all came back. After Mark got his, he got an associate in computer programming from the school in Richmond, and as soon as Robin, she's the youngest, finished high school in Virginia, they both moved back to Carroll County, because that's where they'd more or less grown up, and their friends were here. So they and they won't leave. Yeah. I moved on from Fort Belvoir. I moved on to Fort Lee, transferred to Fort Lee later, and from there I did a tour overseas. And they stayed right here in Carroll County.
Where did you go overseas?
Saudi Arabia.
Did you really?
Yes,
Did the
ma'am.
family go with you? Your wife go with you?
Yeah. Oh, yes. The wife did, and I had jobs over there for the kids, but they wouldn't come. They will not leave Carroll County. Yeah, I was working there. I was working out of a project manager's office. We were modernizing the Saudi Arabian National Guard. Now, the Saudi Arabian National Guard is a full-time force. It's not like our weekend guardsmen here. And yeah, we were there for 5 years. Worked there, and it was quite an experience.
What was it like for your wife to be in Saudi Arabia?
She said when we landed there, she said it was like being dropped in the middle of a Christmas play. People in robes, you know, and it's different. It's totally different. The culture and
Was she happy being a homemaker?
Yes. Well, she worked part time after the kids. She worked in a bank in Sykesville after the kids were out of high school here, before we left. And over there, She worked, well, we had a fairly large compound, a U.S. Military compound there where we lived. And she worked in the library there for a while, and then she worked as a secretary for an Arab businessman for a while we were over there. Yeah. But no, she enjoyed it. She'd go, women are totally segregated there. And she had to ride in the back of the bus. But that was their place, there's no problem with that. They have their own place. Everywhere you go, women have their own place. And yeah, she enjoyed it. They were invited to some of the sheikhs and princes' quarters, and it was quite an experience.
Indeed, indeed. So let's talk about these kids who couldn't bear to leave Carroll County. The oldest one is the young lady?
That's Marta, yes.
Marta, yeah.
Marta's the oldest
She
daughter.
married right out of high school?
Yes, she married right out of high school. And a local, of course, a local boy here.
The family name is what?
The family name was...
Oh, I put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Didn't mean to throw you that curve. Let's get back to Marta, and it'll come to mind, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, her husband, well, she has a... They were divorced, they weren't together, but maybe 2 years.
Oh, dear.
And she remarried another local boy, Barnes. And they have 2 children. Mark married a girl who lived out towards the Liberty Reservoir, out going east, from Eldersburg on 27, and they had a turkey for her dad. Her family had a big turkey farm there, and he married her later on. And I can't find her name either. Yeah. Her maiden name. Yeah. And Robin married, first husband was Egoff. His name was Egoff, and he's of course local, and they split up later on. Now her husband is Pennington, and she works here.
Here?
Yes, she works in administrative support.
How interesting. Is that what prompted you to come to Carroll Lutheran Village?
Sort of. We looked around. Of course, we looked at the one in Hanover, which is very similar to this. I can't remember. Plum Creek?
That sounds right.
Yeah. We looked at that one, and we were looking at a complete service retirement, and Carroll County satisfied that requirement. And of course, by coming here, we didn't have to move out of state and change titles and so forth and so on. Plus, Robin worked here, so it wasn't a real hard decision to come here.
What did she tell you about the place before you came to see it for yourself?
Well, she described it, pretty much as how the layout of the different housing and apartments, and the food facilities, and recreation and all the facilities here. Described it to us. We knew pretty much what it was.
Yeah. So, if your oldest daughter is doing what right now?
Marta is working. She went to nursing school, and she's a nurse at Springfield Hospital. She still works there. Her husband, Jeff Barnes, retired from there 4 or 5 years ago, and he now works at well, what used to be the Carroll County Hospital. It's not the county hospital anymore. I forget what they call it.
Carroll Hospital.
Just Carroll Hospital,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, Jeff works there, and
In what capacity?
he's a nurse.
Mhm.
Yeah, they all, the two of them, the two. Yeah, well,
Jeff and
Marta and her husband. And Robin's first husband was a nurse also.
Oh.
See, they had the school there, nursing school, and a lot of them took advantage of it.
Mhm.
Which was a good thing.
So the middle boy, the middle child, the boy is doing what?
Mark,
these days?
yeah. Well, he's the foreman of the carpenter shop at Springfield
Mhm.
Hospital. So,
So the hospital is in really good shape thanks to your family?
well,
The medical community is being well cared for thanks to your
apparently
family?
so.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of any disasters there.
And what's the youngest one doing?
Robin?
Mhm.
She works here.
She works here.
She's the one that
Okay.
works here, yeah.
So like I say, the medical community's doing well with your family, taking good care of things, huh? Yeah. Do you have grandchildren?
Oh, yes. Each of the children have two.
Mm-hmm.
So we have six grandchildren.
Lovely. Do you get to spend a lot of time with them?
Not so much holidays, and so forth. No, they're pretty, they have their own
Sports and things,
lives, and they pretty well keep busy. We only have one Johnston,
Mm-hmm.
and that's my son's son.
Mm-hmm.
He's the last. He's the last of the Johnstons.
Mm-hmm.
The others. Still has some. I don't know if I have. I've lost track of my relatives back back home. That is the Johnston's
Yeah.
section. Still have two cousins there that we're in touch with.
So going back to the idea of you and the family and the kids, as the children were growing up here in Carroll County, were there any favorite activities or holiday activities they enjoyed? Did you go sledding or skating or things at home?
See, during that time, I wasn't home much because I was on the traveling inspection team.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good time if I got home on a weekend.
Wow.
A lot of time, well, if you're in Kentucky, say, in the far end of Kentucky, it's pretty hard to get home
You
back.
can't get out easy.
But whenever I could, I was home on the weekend. But I was never home during the week, of course, because we were on the road constantly. The team only got back to headquarters once in July, and once over Christmas for a week each.
Good grief.
And other than that, we were gone. So I didn't get to participate a
Did
whole
you
lot.
get tired of traveling like that?
Yes, I certainly did. And when I transferred to Fort Belvoir, that's when I got off the road.
Were you driving or flying or?
Driving, drove your own car, and had a schedule, and had to be there. See, they had friends. The area we lived in there at Emerald Valley, most people were in our own age grade, and they had plenty of kids there to play with. I know Mark worked part-time at there was a butcher shop right up the street, the end of the street. Thank you. Thank W.W. Will. And he worked there. And And he did some farm work too. I mean, in the summer he'd do farm work with. Can't think of the farmer's name. He usually.
In the neighborhood, though.
Well, it was in the surrounding area.
Yeah.
He was in the son of the farmer was in Mark's class in school, and I can't get it. And he would work on the farms in the summer. We had a dog for a while.
Did you find yourself being surprised at some of your kids' achievements when you'd come home for those weekends? Like they'd be involved with things, or would have gotten grades, or done a project, or been in a play that you'd come home and get to participate in?
Not so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of things like that, but of course Betty was involved with them. She didn't. She was home
Mm-hmm.
while I was gone, and she pretty well
Kept them in line.
took care of that. Yeah. Well, they were good kids. We never had a problem. The only problem we ever had, and I don't know if I should talk about it.
Well, we don't need to go there.
Okay.
You're not comfortable with it.
It wasn't serious, and nothing.
Which youngster? Just in case they listen to
It
the
was-
tape and they want to know who it is.
It was Mark. It was
Okay,
it was the boy.
So the girls are off the hook, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. No problems whatsoever. Yeah, Mark, like most boys, like to experiment with things, and he got into a little crunch one time, but.
Certainly turned out okay.
Oh yeah. It wasn't serious at all.
Well, these are kind of confusing times for a lot of our young people these days. The job market's rough. The economy is just now turning around. And a lot of young people are, I think, struggling to kind of make their way in the world. So having lived in the multiple states, done the multiple jobs, any kind of advice you'd like to offer to young people?
Well, it's much more difficult today for a young person. Gosh, when I was younger, anybody that wanted to work could find work where he could support himself and have a family. It's not so easy today. So children must get additional education. I don't see how you could survive today without education beyond high school.
Well, your career was very much in technology. Do you think technology is the ticket for tomorrow?
Well, it certainly is a ticket. I'm not so sure it's the only one. Gosh, things like marketing and advertising and services are big. The place where you can just go down the street and get a job in a store somewhere, it just doesn't exist much anymore.
So you think an education is the...
Absolutely. There's no substitute, and they expect it. You know, that's a screen out pretty much.
That's good advice. Anything about values or...
Oh, well, golly, yeah. Gee whiz, be honest and truthful, you know, and with your other people, and do what, you know, figure out the best thing to do and then do it. There's it seems like so many people and a lot of young people today try to find an easy way out, you know. Instead of studying for the tests, they try to buy a result of the test somewhere. And that goes on at the highest levels. You see it and hear about it in the papers. Do your own study and do your own work, and it'll pay off.
Okay.
Because when the employer finds out you can do it yourself, you're going to advance. You're going to, he's going to want you.
Well, on that note of very sound advice, I want to say thank you very much for finding time to join us for our interview today.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, Dale. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.